even like men and women together, like there are very few couples that really interact with each other, like masculine and feminine. Like a lot of
Because they're
times,
not taught.
yeah, no, I know. And that's the thing. Like I realized it started with like like I feel like our grandparents' generation was like kind of like the beginning of the end, or like like my like the 40 to 50 year olds, like they're all the ones that are divorced now, and their parents were separated and their parents stayed together. Like that's what I've noticed when I've asked people
I
about
guess
like their parents and their
I got an
grandparents.
opinion on this.
Okay, go ahead.
And it relates to what you're saying. I got an
Mhm.
opinion on this.
Mhm.
I very apologize for interrupting you.
Yeah, you're okay.
Um, but I don't want to lose this thought.
Mhm.
If you think about it this way, and can you do me a favor? Can you say hi to Auntie for me? I absolutely love her.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
She
I
doesn't know him.
will.
She's absolutely. But let's take that concept.
Mhm.
Do you know what's really funny? I loved your video the other day when you call it wife school. I
Mhm.
love the see, if you think of it this way. There's a difference between, raising your kids and training your kids.
Mhm.
See, if a parent, now this is not going to go over well.
Mhm.
If a parent ever says to you, I gave you a great home, okay, you had them. You're supposed to give them food and shelter.
Mhm.
But if all you do is give your kids food and shelter, then you're going to let the world teach them, school teach them, churches teach them, which I don't even go there because I love Jesus and some of that, but I think churches have done a horrible job of training and preparing kids. So we are not preparing young men for the competitive world. We're not training and preparing women for what is going to come out to the world that way. So they go to college and they go, woo, I'm getting attention. And look at all the girls, what they do when they get there, because they weren't prepared, saying, listen, guys they have major sexual desire. That's why I kind of laugh, like going, if you let the world train them up, you're going to get what you got now. See, that's why I love your show. That's why even what I do as a doctor,
Mhm.
I'm trying to train up young ladies and young men to actually be good society people based on their biology. And I started out just having sick women. We need to start training. Why do you think your show is popular? Because you're actually training. You don't realize that, Pearl.
Mhm.
You're training people for better future generations.
Mhm.
A lot of the men should be on there just saying, Pearl, thank you.
Mhm.
Because you're setting these women up to
Well,
succeed, vice versa. We need to set the men up to succeed.
mhm. Well, and a lot of people act like I think I'm perfect with it, and I certainly don't. Like I think like
None of us.
I think most people like I always say I was sort of raised to be a boy. Like I grew up between two boys, and I was just a tomboy. I didn't really care about that stuff, and I just think that in like it was really interesting to like think about men and women relationship dynamics, because I was like, oh wow, becoming one of the boys doesn't make them want to date you, like if anything, it's like the opposite effect.
When you look at,
Hmm.
you talked about the characteristics we consider tomboy.
Hmm.
Whenever you, as a young kid, let's say you had those characteristics of male, competitive and decisive and laser
Yeah.
focused and all these things, they consider you a tomboy.
Hmm.
Now, as a young girl, that's fine.
Hmm.
Okay. But see, here's what happens. That's not really a tomboy. You just display some of those characteristics. But what women forget is they also have those feminine characteristics,
Hmm.
which are needed. And some women show them more than they show the tomboy quote aspect that way.
Hmm.
But here's what happens. And this is why I believe women, now watch this. This will bring women mental peace. Society was built by men. It's based on those characteristics of men. And the sad part is this and we're trying to get away from that, but that's how you remember competition
Hmm.
creates better things. You're an athlete, you understand, creates better quality, creates better competence, creates better efficiency. So now women go into the work world. Women that succeed in the work world have to be tomboyish and kind of take on those marital
Hmm.
characteristics. So therefore, that's why you can succeed in the business world.
Hmm.
But here's what happens this. If you try to bring the femininity into the business world, that's what the woke culture is trying to do. It's all about atmosphere and actually culture and stuff like that. Yeah, but
Hmm.
that doesn't pay the bills. That
Hmm.
if you went to an NFL player, a Chicago Bear, since you're from Chicago, and said, you know something, you need to be more compassionate to the person that's trying to keep the people down. See, you laugh about that. See, it comes
Yeah,
back to
right,
that. In
right.
sports, it's the only way men can be men,
Hmm.
but that's not the real world. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And I look at women and say, listen, you're so feminine. Now, this is not going to get me some fans now.
Hmm.
You're so feminine. Don't enter the workforce.
Hmm.
Because you know why? You're going to get crushed. And when you get crushed, you're going to go to HR and try to get HR to make the people that are competitive, making the company better, bringing the money in. You're going to make them less and you're going to hurt society.
Hmm.
And I know that's not appealing to people, but here's what happens. The more feminine you are, and honestly this, the more feminine you are, you're going to attract more of those masculine men because all the traits that I like are not tomboyish. My investigative journalist, Erin, right here, she has a lot of those characteristics that made her my lead investigative journalist. But her husband also works for me. But when she gets home tonight, she knows how to turn on her femininity. So she does that. So come work for me. Have some of those masculine traits, but don't forget you're a woman. Don't take that away from you. Don't transfer that to home because your husband doesn't want to be competed with. He wants those feminine qualities and peace and everything. And so who has it easier in the workforce? Men. They do, because they can just be themselves all the time. Women, you enter the workforce, you better have both characteristics to be able to navigate through there. Otherwise, what's going to happen is this. You're going to have to turn those off. And when you go home, you have to be feminine. Otherwise, you're going to lose that masculine man.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I took like a personality test, like the Jordan Peterson, the Big Five.
Yep.
And it's funny, I'm actually really agreeable. Like I'm like 75th, I think, percentile agreeableness.
Yep.
But so I was like, I wonder how that works. Like, how am I agreeable, but I still like sports and I like to play and compete? I was like, it doesn't really make sense to me. I don't even know why.
Well, sure it does. It makes complete sense though, because here's what happens is there's certain characteristics about you that are competitive and want to win. But here's what happens. But you also know to win with a man, you can't use those characteristics. You can't be in competition with your man. See, what it is understanding that these are male characteristics, these are female characteristics. And here's what happens do you understand how many people I've heard say this? That when all of a sudden, if a male goes home and tries to be a second dad, and I'm sorry, men are not supposed to be second moms. Okay. So apologize. I mean, second dad. Men go home and try to be a second mom. You're actually competing with that mother and she'll resent you for that. Let her be the mom. You be the dad. Do you see what I'm saying? It's really funny. And that's when women are like, he's more of a mom than I am that way. And she'll actually feel like less of mom from her husband. You saying? And vice versa. It's like if and I know I apologize because people don't like this term. If a soy boy, which is more of a feminine man, enters the work world, he'll be chewed up because he's not competitive.
Right.